Hi, this is Anthony. Welcome back to my show. Remember, I'm not a financial planner, I'm not a financial analyst, nor a stock market analyst, just somebody interested in investing in stocks, personal finance, and I've created this channel as a way to entertain and hopefully educate some people. But my whole point is do your own research. I may bring up things that I think are good, bad, should be looked at, but do your own research to make sure that it's right for a well balanced long term portfolio tailored for yourself. So, before the stock market closed today, earlier this morning, I was looking at my stocks. Nothing too big going on, really. But I just checked on them now long after the market closed, and I see that there were a couple big movers, one in one direction and one in another. So the first one we'll look at today is AMD. It was up $39 today, or almost 24%. So really big jump there. Let's look at 5 days, up 26. Been pretty flatlined for a week there. For a month, it's been pretty flatlined. 6 months, it's been creeping up, although kind of down from the highs from a couple months ago. Year to date, so about 10 months, we're up 68%, 69%. Can't complain about that. 52 weeks, we're up only 19%, kind of dropped down for a while, then it's been moving up. 5 years, 145%. Can't complain about that. If you would have bought in some of these troughs, though, you would have made more money than that. And then Max, look at this. This is a very interesting chart. And this shows you that if you have a good stock, that sometimes you have to wait a long time for it to really make you some money. So if we go back, and I don't think that this is split. I may be wrong on that, but a lot of times when you have very low prices years ago, it means that the stock is split and the price really wasn't $2.03 or whatever, $1.98, $1.85. But I think in this case it possibly might have been. So anyway, this chart only goes back to 1985, and it, at least on that day, October 4th. So this is not the IPO, but it was worth $12.13 back then. That's what, 40 years ago. And it basically went sideways. 15 years later, you still would be down money. It spiked up there, but only about $42, $44 when everything spiked up in 2001 and the internet bubble. Then dropped down. There's another spike up there, 2006. Dropped down. Look at that, $1.80. All right, $1.82 there. If you would have bought then, $8, you would have, quadrupled your money, or. But then, 5 years later, still down to a couple dollars. Then it started taking off. Now, I just looked at my portfolio. It's with a company. I started out with one company that became another company that was bought out by another company. And so the history on the current site only goes back to 2021. So I did previously own shares at some point here. I sold them at a profit, stayed off the sidelines until recently, I think right towards the end of last year, 2024. So I'm happy with how it's gone so far. But do your own research. Read the news. It spiked up a lot today. There may be a pullback tomorrow as people take some profits, or people may realize that it's really taken the next step up that we kind of see here, and then might go sideways for a while and then take another step up. Anyway, the second one that I wanted to show you is one that I've done a number of videos on, and I've been leery about. I have, I think, maybe 21 shares of this, but it's AppLovin. It was down $95, almost $100 a share today. Of course, it's now a $587 even at the close. Still quite a high price. It is a profitable company at this point, 83.37 PE ratio, pretty high, but shows that it's profitable. 5 days, you see that chart. 1 month, you're still up 7%. 6 months, you're up 152%. Year to date, 71%, and that's with the big drop. 1 year, 319%. 5 years, you're up 862%. Here's another one. If you bought it at $112 and then it's down to $12, you lost $100 a share, and you had to wait a couple years. This is only going back 5 years, so it's not a long, that long. But even with the drop today, I bet there's a lot of people kicking themselves for not buying it at $10 a share. But at that point, you might not have had any good reason to expect that it would ever go up. And then Max, it only goes back to 2021, fairly new company. There's been spikes up and then big drops and then movements up. This is something, so the reason is the SEC is investigating it. There's been a lot of controversy over this company. And even when reports are released and the controversy reaches the news, it still hasn't really stopped people from buying in, soon after that. I could see this plummeting more. It could go down $50, or people may see this as a buying opportunity and bidding it up tomorrow. I don't know. If I knew one way or the other, it would be easy to become a millionaire in a very short period of time. But you don't know on these things. You can't just look at a chart and try to predict, it's going to go up tomorrow, I'm going to put a whole bunch of money in, because you don't know if the government takes some action, if an airplane hits a building, if a president does something stupid, if a war starts in another country on the other side of the world. It can affect the stock market and change the direction of what otherwise would be, going up, let's say. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on either of these. I'm holding on to both of them. They're a relatively small amount of my portfolio. If you haven't already, please hit like, please hit subscribe, leave a comment. I read all the comments, and eventually I get around to responding to them. Thank you so much, and check out my other videos.